19 freedom for once. Nathaniel's POV. The Alpha will be with you shortly, Alaric tells me as I wait inside Cole's office to inform him that Ivy will be coming back with me to help prepare for the mating ball. The disdain in his tone as he speaks to me is evident, as I'm sure he's just as angry with me for my decision regarding the pack merger as his Alpha is. I'm slightly distracted as my mate is still back in my room, sleeping peacefully. I checked on her before I left as I was worried about her head injury from the piece of shit I'm currently waiting for. She seemed okay, and it took a lot for me not to crawl in beside her. I've been surprised at my degree of restraint with her. I know the moment I don't have to hide how I feel, the floodgates are going to open, and I won't be able to keep my hands off her. It's then a door behind the desk in the room opens and Cole enters. I adjust my stance as I stand in front of the desk, crossing my arms. Cole glances at me, noticing my stance immediately. "Can I help you?" Alpha King Cole speaks, and I don't waste time. I want to get back to Ivy. "I came to notify you that Ivy will be coming with me when I leave. As I told you before, she's been hired to perform at the mating ball next week. My parents would like her to stay at the castle while preparations are being made. Also, the mating retreat after the ball is back on. So be prepared for some of your pack members to be invited if they don't find their mate at the ball." Cole's face turns from shock to a scowl in a matter of seconds. Why does Ivy need to go now? She's only performing, he questions me stupidly, his concerns for her leaving the pack grounds coming more and more to the surface. She's been hired to do a job, and there's a lot more preparations for her performance than you think. I'm not asking permission. Unless you'd like to explain to the royal family as to why she can't leave the pack, and why this seems to be a problem. I question him, pushing for some sort of slip-up concerning his problem with Ivy, but he doesn't bite. Maybe he's smarter than I thought. He shifts weight to his opposite side as he answers me. "There's no problem. Please just keep me informed of her actions while she's with your family. I wouldn't want her behavior to look poorly on me and this pack." I scoff slightly as I turn and walk towards the door, opening it to leave. "You've already done that a bit yourself, Alpha." I wouldn't worry about her. I walk out, closing the door behind me. I know I shouldn't keep pushing Cole, but I can't help it. He's a terrible Alpha, and with what he did to Ivy, I can't even look at him with any ounce of respect. I make my way out of the pack house and back to the residential building, and up to my room. I open the door, and as I walk in, Ivy comes walking down the hallway from the bedroom, her fiery hair slightly tousled and yawning loudly. She stops dead in her tracks when she sees me and half smiles at me. "How are you feeling?" I ask, and she nods her head slightly. "Better. Thank you for letting me crash. Did you get any work done you needed to?" I nod. "Yes, don't worry. I just came back from seeing Cole." The moment his name comes from my mouth, she frowns slightly, and her eyes widen in worry. "How did that go?" she questions, clearly still concerned. "It went fine. Don't worry your pretty little head. I just went and told him about our travel plans for you to come back with me for the mating ball preparations. He didn't say anything about me not being allowed to go. I didn't give him a chance." She sighs, and it's almost as if all the tension leaves her body. She bows slightly. "Thank you for advocating for me, Alpha. I guess I should go pack." I smirk. "That you should. I'll send a couple of my team to help you get your items to the cars. We will leave tomorrow." "Okay," she nods and walks past me towards the door. I grab her arm slightly, stopping her. She turns and faces me as I let go. I have to ask. "Did you want to have dinner with me tonight? We can talk about how the next week or so will go," I ask, and she blushes, her cheeks turning a rosy pink. "Please say yes." "Yes, ... sure." Here she stutters in her response, and I chuckle. "Yes. Is there a favorite food you like?" She looks to the side, obviously thinking. "I really like roasted potatoes and vegetables with either chicken or steak." A girl after my heart, literally and food-wise too. "That can be arranged. I'll come grab you from your house later this evening around 8. Sound good?" "Yes, Alpha. I'll make sure I'm ready." "Great. See you then, Ivy." "See you," I watch, as she then turns and walks out the door, but not before giving me a small smile. Ivy's POV. I stand in my room, just staring at my closet. I've managed to pull a few things out, like some jeans and t-shirts, but I've slowed down in picking out clothes to pack, all because I'm panicking. What if I completely screw this up? What if I wear the wrong thing? What if? I shake my head and take a deep breath. Is it scary that I'm going away from the pack? Yes. Is it nerve-wracking that I'm leaving with the Alpha King? Hell yes. But is this also what I've always wanted? Also, yes. I walk over and grab the bag I packed when I was planning to leave the pack before Alpha Nathaniel came. I unpack the clothes from it and place them in the suitcase on my bed alongside a few more outfits. I grab my mating ball dress from my closet and lay it out nicely beside my suitcase in its garment bag. A few more moments pass, and when I'm satisfied that I've packed enough clothes, I go into the bathroom to pack my toiletries into my small toiletry bag, grabbing all my currently used items, including my minimal amount of makeup, toothbrush, hairbrush, and shower essentials. I carry the bag out with me and tuck it nicely into my suitcase, sighing. I really hope that's enough stuff, I say to myself as I zip up the large suitcase and put it aside to be picked up later. I go back into the bathroom and run my fingers through my hair as I look into the mirror. I showered and did my makeup before I started packing, but left my hair for last because I wasn't sure what to do for dinner with Nathaniel. I sigh loudly, and then I hear Genevieve call my name. I yell out in the bathroom, and a short few seconds later she appears beside me. So, I hear you're leaving with Alpha Nathaniel tomorrow. I nod. I'm actually going to the royal castle to help get things arranged for the mating ball performance. The smile on Genevieve's face makes me chuckle. Happy for me, I ask, and she hugs me from behind. Oh, you know I am. Enjoy your time away. I'll see you at the ball. She goes to leave, and I blurt out, he asked me to dinner tonight. She turns back, her eyes wide. He what? Oh my God. Could you help me with my hair? I don't know what to do. It's not a fancy dinner or anything. She smiles wide again. I've got the perfect idea. Stay there. She returns a few moments later with some elastics and some styling spray and a curling iron. She gets to work, curling my entire head and then pulling back each of the sides into small ponytails aside from small pieces in the front to frame my face. Like some of my usual styles, but the curls give it some more flair. As soon as she finishes, there's a knock on the door and Genevieve looks at me with a smile. I'll get that she's gone within a second, and I go back into my room to get changed. I choose a fitted off-the-shoulder black dress that sits just above my knees, with some sheer black tights underneath and a gray cardigan to cover my arms. I spray some perfume on, and I hear Genevieve yell for me. Ivy, Alpha Nathaniel is here. Coming, I yell back as I put some lip gloss on and quickly do another once over in the bathroom mirror before walking out into the living room. As he comes into view, I'm taken aback. His hair is styled, slightly messy but pushed back from his face. He's in a casual dressy outfit, black dress pants paired with a black button-up long-sleeved dress shirt. The sleeves are rolled up, showcasing those oh-so-familiar tattoos that I saw when he first arrived here. He speaks first. Hello, Ivy. Hello, Alpha, I reply, and he smirks at me. You look beautiful. Are you ready? I nod, walking over and grabbing my black ankle boots, slipping them on. Yes, I am now. Are your things packed? He questions, and I nod again. Good, we're leaving now. He turns, and with a small whistle, Tobias walks in, smiles at me, and heads back towards my bedroom. He returns shortly after, my suitcase and garment bag in hand. Is this everything? He asks, and I nod. Yes, that's all. Thank you. He walks past and is gone out of sight again. I turn and look at Genevieve, and then back to Nathaniel. We're leaving now? I thought it wasn't until tomorrow. Something has come up, and I've got to get back. Are you okay with coming now? I can always leave Tobias behind, and he can bring you tomorrow if you need more time. I shake my head. No, it's okay, just surprised is all. If you have to get back, you've got to. I won't delay you. Genevieve approaches us and pulls me into a hug. As we part, I ask, will you say bye to Kane for me? I know he's doing late-night training. She nods. Of course. Have fun, and we will see you soon. I smile, and Nathaniel allows me to walk in front of him, and he follows behind me. His limo is near the gate just outside my house, and we walk side by side over to it. Tobias is closing the trunk as we approach and makes his way to the passenger side. Nathaniel opens the rear door for me. I say thank you as I climb inside and move over to the opposite side as Nathaniel climbs in behind me and closes the door. We will go to dinner in the next town over and then make our way to the palace. It's a decent length of a drive, so just let me know if we need to stop or anything. Okay, I turn to look at him and smile. Sounds perfect to me. The limo engine comes to life and pulls forward past the gate, and finally I am outside of Red Moon's Pack lands, feeling relieved for once in my life. 20 time with her. Ivy's POV. I hum lightly as I look out the back window of the limo as it drives up whatever road we're on. We've been on the road for quite a while. I forgot really how much distance is in between our packs and the human towns. Honestly, I haven't been out of the Packlands much since the incident, so all this territory is new to me. Still, it isn't too interesting, mostly greenery and old, tall trees lining the side of the road. Nate has hardly said a word on the trip so far. He's been on his phone taking multiple calls, which I can only assume is due to the reason that he needs to head back to the palace a day early. I'm curious as to what could be so urgent that he had to rush out of Red Moon like it was on fire, but I mean, it really isn't any of my business. I'm a guest traveling with him, not his personal assistant or anyone close to him to even be privileged to know. I continue to hum quietly, losing myself in the melody of the song until I see lights, and sure enough, we're entering town. I see some people walking the streets as we drive by a wide range of buildings and houses before pulling into a parking lot. It's then that Nate speaks. We're at the restaurant. Hungry, I turn to look at him and nod. Yes, definitely. The door opens beside him, and he exits the limo and I follow behind. Nate extends his hand as I get to the door, and I take it as he helps me out of the car. I smooth down my dress and take a quick look down to make sure the rest of my outfit is fine. Nate places his hand on the small of my back and leans into my ear. You look perfect. Don't worry. His voice is low and makes me shiver a little. He leads us through the front door of the restaurant, his hand never leaving my back until we're seated at one of booths near the back of the restaurant. Private. Secluded. Good Lord. Nathaniel's POV. I'm glad I had calls to keep my attention off Ivy in the car, because god damn, she looked exquisite. I heard her humming during the drive, and I know she was doing it quietly to respect the calls I was on. Respecting me with no hesitation, I did manage to take a few glances of her in between calls, admiring her from head to toe, from that fiery hair to those legs covered with those sheer tights. I know I've said it multiple times, but this girl is going to be the death of me. The moon goddess sure knows how to pair mates. She's everything I could ever possibly want in a woman, and I still don't know everything about her yet. I heard her heart pick up when I whispered in her ear and complimented her, and I felt Kiba's pride swell within me to have gotten a reaction from our mate. Her heart still beats slightly faster now as we're sitting at the table looking at menus. I already ordered some wine for us, and now we're trying to decide on food. Are you sure? She questions, as I had told her to choose whatever she wanted to eat. I nod in response, pick whatever you'd like. She hesitates for a few moments, squinting and bringing the menu up closer to her face. I chuckle slightly, and she looks at me with a smirk on her face. The print is so damn small, how can you even read it? She questions before laughing along with me. You're not wrong, but I usually get the same thing every time I'm here, so I don't even need to look at it anymore. She looks up at me again. What do you usually get? Then she places her menu down on the table and I move closer to her to point it out on the menu. She leans in to see where I'm pointing, a bit of her hair falling in her face. Instinctively, I reach and tuck it behind her ear, and she turns her head to face me, our faces mere inches apart. I hear her heart race as she stares at me, and I stare back into those emerald, green eyes, not breaking contact once. She doesn't break eye contact either. I think I'll get the same as you, if that's okay. I nod. Of course. I hear our waiter clear his throat, and we both look at him as he places 2 glasses and the wine bottle down on the table. Have you decided on your orders? 2 orders of the medium rare steak with baked potatoes and mixed house vegetables, please. He nods and is gone as fast as he arrived. I reach for the bottle of wine and pull the opened cork out of the top with a slight pop and pour mine and Ivy's glasses about half full. I hand Ivy's to her, and she smiles. Thank you. There's a slight pause before she decides to speak. So, is there anything I should know about being at the palace? I've never been there before, so I don't want to look stupid in front of your parents. Understandable for her to be concerned about how to behave, so I try to reassure her. No, not really. My parents are low-key. Knowing them, they wouldn't care less about formalities and such, unless it's a more formal meeting, which it's not. I wouldn't worry too much about it, honestly. She sips her wine slowly and nods as she places her glass in front of her on the table. She looks more serious, and soon I know why. "What about you? What do you expect from me during my visit?" she questions, and I catch on quickly. She's trying to judge if my nice behavior towards her was just for show at her pack, and if I'm going to impose things on her while she's gone. I get why she feels the need to question, but I know it's coming from a place of fear and unease. I sip my own wine before responding. There are no expectations. You expect me to believe that? Have I given you a reason not to? She shakes her head. No, you haven't. I'm sorry, it's just, she trails off. It's just what I question, and she stares at her wine glass. When she doesn't answer, I continue. Ivy, I don't expect anything from you. You're coming as a guest and as a performer for the ball. I sure as hell don't rule like that asshat alpha of your pack, and when you get to visit my pack one day, you'll clearly see what a real alpha is supposed to be like. I would like that someday. She pauses as if she's fighting about saying something to me, opening up to me. Then she hits me with a confession. I was planning on leaving before you came to Red Moon. She picks up her glass and gulps the rest of her wine down. She was going to run. Become a rogue. What stopped you? She looks me straight in the eyes then. You came early. Our waiter returns with our food, placing our plates in front of us alongside with cutlery and another bottle of wine. Well, I'm glad my coming early stopped you, cause then I wouldn't be aware of things, and most importantly, I wouldn't have gotten to spend time with you again at the pack and right now. I see her shoulders relax slightly, and I reach over and fill her wine glass again as she smells her plate. I guess you're right. I am sorry for being so defensive. It's a natural response at this point. Let's talk about something else and dig into this food. It smells wonderful. I'm down is all I say before cutting into my steak and offering her the first bite of my meal. I know she doesn't know that she's my mate, but it's tradition regardless. She looks down at the piece of steak on my fork and then leans and takes that bite into her mouth. I hear her sigh slightly as she covers her mouth to chew, and her eyes widen. That is so good. I'm glad I took your advice and ordered it, she says, still with her mouth covered. We eat for next half hour or so, chatting about Iron Wolf and her performing, as well as likes, dislikes, and favorite things. We have a good amount in common, I find, and she seems to be more comfortable with me now that we've had a good amount of time together. I open the door of the restaurant for her to walk out ahead of me, and as we walk to the car, she turns and walks backwards, trying to speak to me. That was great. Thank you for taking me out, I go to respond, but she trips, and I rush forward to catch her before she hits the pavement. My left arm is wrapped about her waist, pulling her up and into me. She places her hands on my shoulders as I hold her, and she's breathing heavily and staring up at me. I pull her up back to her feet, and she keeps her hands on me, the muted tingling sensation of our bond running through my skin under my clothes. 21 changing everything. Ivy's POV. I can't believe I was so clumsy, yet again. Nate caught me before I made a complete fool of myself, and as embarrassing as it was, I was thankful that I didn't hurt myself. But the weirdest thing, we stared at each other for such a long time after he helped me up. Complete silence but burning stares. I know I'm feeling something for him, but I can't let it continue. He's unmated and the king for fuck's sake. The way he looked at me, held me, has been playing on my mind since we got back into the limo. I've been trying my hardest to not look at him, best my eyes and mind betray me, and I do something stupid. I want to kiss him, feel him hold me again. I sigh quietly and try to focus outside again, but Nate draws my attention to him by clearing his throat. I turn my head and notice that he's looking at his notepad that he's been using when he's been on his calls. He's sitting so casually beside me, leaned back into the limo seat with his left leg up with the right stabilizing him on the floor. He's resting his elbow on his raised knee, the top of his pen in his mouth, and my gaze lingers to his tattoos his forearm. From here they look like intricate vines, but I can't make out much else. His dress clothes fit just right in my opinion, showcasing what I can only imagine is a godlike physique. Honestly, he's breathtaking, and I'm surprised no one has jumped at the chance to be with him. Okay, stop gawking and drooling over your king. It's then he looks up and catches my gaze, his icy eyes making me lose my resolve. I quickly look away and turn my attention to the window, and I hear him clear his throat again. I turn and gasp slightly as he's now moved to hover over me where I'm sitting. The movement of the car doesn't seem to faze him as he leans in closer to me, my heart and mind racing 1,000,000 miles a minute. His body engulfs mine, his stance intimidating but oddly alluring. "Ivy," he says my name, and I close my eyes to try and keep my composure. They shoot open only moments later as he grasps my chin slightly with his fingers, lifting my head to match his. "You keep staring as if you want something." What is it he calls me out, and I feel the blush creeping into my cheeks. He chuckles lowly, his eyes burning into mine with desire. He leans into my right ear, placing his hands on the seat on either side of my head, blocking me in. "Tell me," he whispers, and I swear my entire body melts and freezes at the same time. He pulls his head back to stare at me again, and it takes forever for me to get out a response. "I shouldn't," I manage to say, my voice breaking slightly under his intense stare. "Don't be the scared girl, afraid to make a mistake. You're not at your pack, you're here. Show me who you used to be." I look at him, annoyed that he's using this type of tactic against me. "You don't know who I was before this." He notices my change in demeanor, since he chuckles again. "No, I don't, but I want to know." I glare at him with annoyance. "I'm not backing off until you tell me, Songbird." "Songbird? Is that a nickname for me?" I sigh as I know he means it, and I cave. "I was wondering how, or maybe even why, you've managed to be single all these years. Don't you have girls all vying for your attention?" He pauses and then smiles. "Not any worth of attention." Until now, his response takes me aback as he leans in, and I welcome the kiss that follows. It's soft at first, but then each of our primal desires take over, and it evolves into something harder, more demanding, as if our lives depended on it. I hear Nate growl lowly as he breaks the kiss and sits down right beside me. I turn and look at him, and his desired stare makes me throw all cautions to wind, and I can't restrain myself any longer. He's awakened something in me, and in a split second, I'm climbing into his lap, straddling him. He places one hand on my right hip, digging his fingers in, holding me in place, and I lean down to him again, kissing his neck softly. His other hand comes up and grasps the back of my neck tightly, moving up into my hair, and he pulls back, and then down to his mouth, kissing me again. My mind is racing as to what is happening, but it feels so right. No one has touched me since my pack boyfriend in my teens, and I feel desired, wanted. I run my hands over his shoulders, chest, and arms as we continue to fight for dominance in the kiss, the sounds coming from him driving me wilder. His hands wander, making my whole body shiver in response. We break away from each other, and I try to steady my breathing when he pulls me back down and kisses me softly. I rest my head on his shoulder, biting my lip as it dawns on me what we just did. I go to talk, and he interrupts me. "Don't you dare apologize." I sit up, still straddling him, and look at him and then look away. I don't know what came over me. Here I am talking about you being single, and now I pause. "I just don't want to seem like one of those girls that just throws themselves at you," I say as I climb off his lap, the guilt finally setting in as to what I've allowed myself to do. "Ivy, I know you're not like that. I've never gotten that vibe from you at all, and I think that's why this happened. You've done nothing but treat me with respect and treated me like a regular person. You didn't pretend to like me. You weren't afraid of me. You are the most welcoming woman that I've met in a very long time," he says as he tugs my arm and pulls me to sit across his lap this time, my head resting on his shoulder as he holds me. "I'm just worried I won't be able to restrain myself now that I've had a taste of you." I blush at his words, knowing full well this has just changed everything between us. The car pulls to a slow stop, and Nate leans over to look out the window and smiles. "We're here. Should be an interesting time here at the palace, that's for sure." 22. The Palace Visitor. Nathaniel's POV. I watch as Ivy walks beside me as we enter the palace, with Tobias following behind with Ivy's bags. My mind is still swimming with thoughts that threaten to undo all my self-control. The kiss between us was pure welcomed insanity. Feeling her on top of me, fighting for dominance, pure primal nature, and I wanted more. I can't help but chuckle as she turns slightly to look at me, her eyes widened in shock and awe. This as she trails off, turning herself in every direction, clearly still in a state of bewilderment at what I can only assume is the furnishings and overall state of the palace, having not stepped foot in it before. The main hall is decorated with an assortment of expensive paintings and decorations on pure white walls, with marble flooring white with streaks of black and silver. Dark wooden accented tables and stands with roses and other flowers litter the main entrance, matching the giant archway that leads into the next part of the palace. We're stopped by Renee, my parents' personal assistant, who I recognize right away. She bows her head to the three of us. She turns to Ivy. "Welcome to the palace, Ivy. My name is Renee and I assist Queen Daciana and King Orin, reigns of the northern continent. If you need anything while you are here, please do not hesitate to ask. As you're a guest of Alpha Nathaniel, a room has been set up for you in the guest area of his wing in the palace." Ivy nods, still clearly speechless, which I find partially amusing as Renee turns to address me. "My lord, your parents have set up a meeting for tomorrow afternoon at 1. Please let me know if there is anything else you require. Your usual room is still as you left it in your wing." I nod at her. "Thank you, Renee. I appreciate it." "Tell my parents I will see them tomorrow." She nods and smiles at Tobias before turning and walking away. Ivy clears her throat before turning to face me. "You have your own wing in the palace?" I chuckle at her disbelief. "Yes, all heirs take over the wing as their own. It gets passed down the royal generations." This is a lot, she states plainly, and I can't help but agree with her. It is, but don't worry, that's all you really need to know. "Simon, let's get you settled into your room. It's getting late." All she needs to know for now. Kiba states in my thoughts. I start to walk slightly ahead of Ivy, leading her through the archway into the main hall that allows access to every other section of the palace. The two large staircases here lead upstairs to the upper level of the royal ballroom on the right, and another banquet-like space on the left. The lower level here leads to the main entrance of the ballroom again on the right, and where we're going is on the left, to the living quarters. "Follow me." She nods. "Is the matting ball being held in the ballroom?" she questions, and we make our way through the doors on the left side. "Yes, I'll give you a tour of it within the next couple of days and show you everything you need to know for your performance." We continue to walk down the similar white hallway, passing multiple doors until we get to an all-familiar dark wooden door with a golden handle, a carved plaque with a letter N on it. "This leads to my wing," I say as I turn the knob and walk through, Ivy and Tobias following behind. I decorated this area of the wing slightly different to that of the rest of the palace, and Ivy's audible gasp makes me chuckle slightly. Instead of all white, I went with tones of gray, navy blue and black when I took over this wing many years ago. The first room is a large living area off to the left with a stone fireplace and an assortment of navy and black couches and sitting chairs, which is attached to a large dining area with a full-on kitchen. Navy cabinets with a gray granite countertops and black appliances. I stop to explain. This is where you can spend some downtime and eat. Kitchen is fully stocked. I continue to walk near the far right of the room that leads into another hallway. This has a few different rooms. The four on the left here are my office, recreational room, gym, and my personal room. The four doors on the right are all guest rooms. Yours is the one at the end, across from my room, which I planned for. Ivy's POV. This place is insane. A girl could get used to this. I follow Nathaniel into my room, and I'm shocked yet again. This room is all gray and white. Dark wood flooring, light gray walls with minimalistic artwork on them. There's a large king-sized canopy bed in the middle, with a white dresser beside a slightly ajar closet door that is also white on the left. I walk towards the open door, and I have to stop my jaw from dropping to the floor for a billionth time. It's a freaking walk-in. For a guest room. I peek over to the right and see that there's a large bathroom on that side, seeing the partial side of a bathtub through the open doorway. I turn and smile at Nathaniel as Tobias places my bags onto the large bed. "I'm staying here," I question, and I know it must come across as just utter disbelief, but when you live as an outcast in your own pack with no privileges like this, I can't help but be surprised. "Yes, if you need anything, I'm just across the hall. I'll let you get unpacked and rest. Feel free to explore tomorrow if you want. We can always take a bit of a tour before my meeting." That sounds wonderful. "If you can't ever find Alpha, I'll be around and can help you out," Tobias states, and I nod. "I appreciate that, Tobias." "Thank you." With that, he walks out, leaving Nate and I alone again. I look at Nate, the silence proving deafening. Thank you for accommodating me here, honestly. It's not a problem. Are you okay for the night? I know it was a bit of a drive. His concern for me makes my heart pick up its pace slightly. I should be good. I was just going to unpack, clean up, and get some sleep. What he says next surprises me a little bit. I'll give you my cell number in case you need anything and I'm not close by. Text or call anytime. Okay, he approaches me and I grab my phone from my bag and hand it to him. A few seconds later, it's back in my hands with a new contact added. Nate, but with a winking face. This man. Thank you, I'll text shortly so you've got mine, I say, waving the phone slightly in my hand. Sounds good, see you tomorrow, he says before he smiles and leaves the room with a soft click of the door. 23 Singing Beauty. Ivy's POV. I groan and roll over as my oh-so-familiar alarm goes off on my phone. I reach for it, my hands grabbing more and more blankets until I open my eyes slightly and realize that I'm a great distance away from my phone on the nightstand, since this bed in this guest room I'm in is massive. Oof, I groan out in annoyance and lift myself up on my elbows and shuffle closer to the nightstand, grabbing my phone roughly, smacking the off button for the alarm and dropping my phone onto the bed as I roll onto my back and sigh loudly. It's been a while since I slept so soundly. I sit up and slide off the side of the bed and make my way into the bathroom. I run the shower and quickly get undressed and hop in, making quick time of getting myself clean from head to toe. I step out, wrapping my hair in a light towel so I don't drop water across the floor. I wrap my body in another towel and I head over to the sink and start to apply my skincare and then very minimal makeup, a little bit of eyeliner and mascara. I head back out into the bedroom over to the dresser, grabbing socks, my bra and underwear, and then walk into the closet to choose my outfit for the day. I go for my gray John Caprese and a loose, flowy green tank top. I look over in the closet and see my gown for the mating ball now tailored perfectly for me and I sigh. I've never worn something so fancy and it makes me nervous, even though it is a beautiful dress. I walk out back to the bed, laying down all my clothing. I pull the towel off my head to let my hair air dry in its natural waves and start to get dressed. Finally, after about an hour, I'm ready for the day. I grab my phone and see that I have a message from Nate. Once you're up, come on into the kitchen. I look at the time, sent 4:05 a.m. Was he seriously up that early? I shrug my shoulders and put my phone into my pocket and head out my door, and I'm hit with the smell of pancakes. I peek down the hallway and glance into the kitchen area, and I see Nate humming along as the pancake batter sizzles in the pan. I walk into the kitchen and sit down at one of the stools by the counter. Morning, I say, and he turns to face me, smiling. Morning. Sleep well, he asks, and I nod. Really well, thank you, I pause and then continue. I saw your text. You always up so early, I question, and he nods. Yup, I usually go out for a morning run to let Kiba out, then come back and do a workout. He says as he turns back to flip the pancakes on the stove. I figured you would probably be up by the time I was finished, so I thought I'd make some breakfast for us before the day got hectic. How did he know what time I'd be up? Is he that intuitive? Stop questioning it. I appreciate that, especially my first day here. Thank you. You are very welcome, Nate says as he hands me a plate with 2 pancakes stacked ever so neatly on top. He places the syrup in front of me and hands me a knife and a fork before grabbing his own plate and coming around to sit beside me. He's in a black muscle shirt and gray sweatpants, and I quickly look back to my pancakes because he looks just as delicious. Stop it, Ivy. So, up for a short tour of the ballroom today, he asks, and I smile as I start to cut up my pancakes. Yes, I would love that. We eat in mostly silence, which honestly wasn't awkward at all. Nate stands first, grabbing his plate and mine and bringing it over and rinsing them in the kitchen sink. He turns and faces me. I'm going to go get changed and I'll meet you back out here. Sound good? I nod and he heads away from me and down the hallway where I hear a soft slick of his bedroom open and close. I stand up and head over to the couch in the living room, thinking that I may want to practice a small song when I get into the ballroom to get an idea of the overall feel and acoustics of the room for when I perform at the mating ball. It's a few minutes before I come to a decision on a song to sing, and as I do I hear Nate's door open and close again. I look over to my right as he comes into my view and hot damn. Casual black dress pants, black dress shirt with a black vest over top. Both sleeves rolled up to expose his forearms, and his hair is tousled and messy, as if he just ran his hands through it a few times. He flashes me a smirk as if he knows what I'm thinking, and I blush slightly. Ready, he asks, and I stand up and walk over to stand beside him. Of course. Lead the way. Nathaniel's POV. Ivy and I head back into the main hall, towards the ballroom area of the palace. I glance at her quickly as she walks beside me, drawn in yet again by her beauty. I know she's feeling something for me, but ever since the kiss in the car, she's clearly been holding back. I don't blame her. We did get hot and heavy for that moment. I've caught her stares and can only really imagine what she's thinking, but it would be nice to know exactly what goes through her mind. I open the door back to the main hall and allow her to go first, following closely behind to open the next door that goes directly into the ballroom itself. As we enter, I see workers and assistants all walking around as they prepare the room for the mating ball. As far as I know, they've been at it for a few weeks now, completely changing the normally plain space into this wondrous room to host the packs coming this year. I've always enjoyed the ballroom, with its long expanse, floor-to-ceiling windows with doors that lead to multiple balconies outside, and large candle-lit crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. It's always been a room of history, with its elaborate decorated walls and flooring, although Mother did have the floors replaced last year. It has its own personality, similarly to how my wing is different from the rest of the palace. The stage has been set up against the wall in the middle of the large room, decorated with dark wine-colored fabrics that match the decor of the array of tables that are currently being set up as well. Ivy and I continue walking until we're closer to the large stage, and she turns to me, her eyes wide. "This is so beautiful," she exclaims as she continues to look around. She looks at the stage and then back to me. "Can I go up?" I nod slightly. "Yeah, that's fine. Did you just want to see what it's like up there?" Or I question, unsure as to why she's wanting to go up onto the stage when the room isn't fully set up. "I'll explain. Come on up with me," she states as she goes around to the side stairs, and I shrug my shoulders and follow. I continue following until her and I are standing right in the middle of the stage, and then she turns to face me yet again, her green eyes alight with excitement and her red waves flowing with her movement. A good performer always knows their venue, she starts as she turns away, and suddenly a smooth note comes flowing out of her mouth, echoing slightly. I know the room isn't fully set up yet, but it's nice to have an idea of how my voice sounds in here. It's a large room, larger than that of Iron Wolf, so I will have to make some adjustments to accommodate for that. I see, that does make sense. In all honesty, I understand some of musical theory, but more when it comes to instruments, not necessarily voice. I find myself intrigued as to her knowledge, and I feel more anticipation in terms of hearing her perform at the ball when the room is completely ready. I'm drawn out of my thoughts as I hear the most wonderful tone coming from her as she starts to sing. Coming out of the deep dark. Like a spear into her cold heart. Dark love empress. Her golden secret. Sent away to faraway countries. Her despair and fear. Sunrise to final sunset. Her voice is mesmerizing, and hearing it this close makes me shiver. I see her effortlessly hit note after note, her arms and hand raising in emphasis to what she's singing. After the midnight hour. Keep going. Keep going. The third night watch. We are falling from the storm wind. After the midnight hour. We're rising. We're rising. We feel the storm wind. We blow away the sky. She finishes, and I can't help but smile at her as she turns to face me again. Amazing, simply amazing songbird, I say, and I see the blush creep up into her cheeks. Thank you, she says softly, and then attention is drawn across the room as claps start to echo throughout the room, all the staff having stopped to listen. I smile as I see my mother approaching the stage, clapping loudly. She stops at the front of the stage. That was simply beautiful. I assume you are Ivy, she questions, and I see Ivy nod. Come on down here and let me get a look at you, my mother exclaims, and Ivy turns to me, her eyes showing a bit of unease, but I smile and try to reassure her. She walks past me and I follow her back down, us both coming to a stop in front of my mother. She's always been a striking beauty, my mother. She's got black hair like me, pinned straight and down to her waist, rounded, amber-colored eyes that show every single emotion she feels, with porcelain skin and soft features. She's on the shorter side, but the heels she wears pretty much every day make up for that. When she's in her regal clothes, she looks way more intimidating than she does now in a simple gray dress with black heels. Ivy, you are a beauty, and your voice is heavenly. I am so glad that Nathaniel found you to perform here for the ball. It's going to be so wonderful. My mother almost gushes at her, and Ivy chuckles slightly. Thank you, I really appreciate the kind words. I'm still trying to decide exactly what to perform, but I have a better idea now. I for one cannot wait to hear it, I interject, and my mother smiles at me. Same, my son. A few moments pass, and it dawns on me. Mother, is it almost time for the meeting? I ask, now realizing that it must be close, and she nods. Yes, I came to get you as there's a few things to discuss before the other rains arrive. Okay, Ivy, will you be okay without me for now? I ask, and she looks at me and nods. Of course, you go do your duties. I'll just walk around and then head back to your wing and work on my song list. I'll text you when I'm done and we can meet up, okay? She smiles. Sounds great. See you later. She turns away from me, and my mother and I turn and walk in the opposite direction of her. Once we're out of earshot, my mother wraps her arm into mine as we walk and blindsides me. Were you planning to tell me that Ivy is your mate? 24 Practice. Ivy's POV. It's now the day before the mating ball. I've been here at the palace for almost a week. Nathaniel and I have spent a lot of time together regardless of his duties here, and it's the most content I've felt in years. He treats me kindly, respectfully, and like an actual person. We've gone for walks around the palace, eating dinners together in his wing and watching movies before retiring to bed. I don't want to leave. This has been the escape I've been looking for all along. I'm nervous for when the entire pack arrives tomorrow, but it's like some of my sense of self has returned this week. Mentally, I feel stronger, more like myself again. I know that without Sills I won't be whole, but at least I'm feeling better than I had when I had decided to leave and become a rogue. Something about Nathaniel just draws me to him. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm not complaining. I keep thinking to myself as I walk into the ballroom, now complete for the mating ball, and head to the stage. It's late at night, but I had asked to get some practice in for the ball, and Nathaniel and his mother has said it was fine. I walk up the steps and to middle stage to the taped X that marks my place. I pull out a piece of paper that has my song list, a grand total of 4 songs, the last one being my favorite. One I picked that sort of describes my inner turmoil and how I feel, but strangely relating to how Nathaniel has made me feel. I decide to practice that one first. I'm not afraid of the monster in you. I heard the stories and I hope they are true. Adrenaline is calling my name. No hesitation, darling, I'm still waiting. And for the first time I will feel alive. Offer me a world of shadows and eternity. We are animals, hunting for another supper, for another prey, losing our soul. The love for danger is rushing through my veins. Offer me your world, your thirst for immortality. We are animals. I continue, feeling the emotions to their fullest extent and allowing it to flow through my voice, echoing now only slightly now that the room is finished. Time passes as I go through each song, feeling confident that my performance will be great at the ball tomorrow, if all goes well. I finish with the last song, the final note slowly fading. I fold my paper back up and head off stage and towards the door, hoping that everything goes as planned. Nathaniel's POV. Well, of course, I couldn't avoid my mother catching on to the fact that Ivy was my mate. She called it right away and asked why I hadn't told her, and after some explaining, she understood my reasoning, but I remember her advice before we had gone into the meeting. She only makes you as strong as you let her. Hard truth coming from her, but it is the truth, and not just from an alpha Luna type dynamic. I have to let her in, allow her to support me just as I would support her in every aspect of our lives together. There's so much I don't know about her, but I can't keep her in the dark forever just because there's secrets in her past that I want to uncover. I went out for a run with Kiba this morning to let off some steam before the mating ball and to get out of the palace for a few moments since it's a complete madhouse. Catering, cleaning, and last-minute decoration fixes or changes with the sheer number of staff required to pull this off smoothly makes for a very busy, crowded area. I don't know how my mother does it all, but it always works out in the end. Ivy was just getting up as I was leaving, saying she had practice with the live band for her performances, and I had told her that I would see her later. As I walk through the busy people in the main foyer, I see Ivy cross in front of me, coming from the ballroom and heading back to where my wing is. I decide to head back in that direction myself, considering it's mere hours before guests are due to arrive and I need to get ready. My mother had told me earlier that she talked with Ivy about having her hair and makeup professionally done, and apparently it took some convincing, but she eventually agreed, which doesn't surprise me. I quicken my pace to catch up with her. Ivy, I say her name and she turns and locks eyes with me and smiles, stopping for me to come up beside her. We start walking together towards my wing and she asks me, "How was your run?" "It was good, I appreciate you asking." "How was practice?" I ask, and she smiles brighter. "It went great. The live band is amazing. I hope all turns out well later." "I'm sure it will," I reply as we walk into the wing and are greeted by a team of people, clearly those hired to get us ready. "Well, guess it's time to get all done up," Ivy says, her tone of voice giving away her discomfort. I lean in and whisper in her ear, smiling at the slight shiver response I get from her. "It'll be fine. You'll look stunning, I guarantee it. See you later, Songbird." She turns and blushes slightly before heading towards her room. "I sure hope so. See you later," she says before disappearing behind her bedroom door. I sigh and walk with my own team to my room. 25. The Mating Ball. Ivy's POV. I have never seen so many people in my life. I'm currently backstage in the ballroom, looking out into the massive array of people that have arrived for the mating ball. The room is loud with commotion, laughs and conversations alike. The teams assigned to get me ready escorted me here before I even had a chance to see where anyone else was, including Nathaniel. He's nowhere to be seen yet in my field of view. I'm fully dressed in my ball gown, as I decided against getting another dress after all, since this one is literally perfection on me now that it was tailored. My coppery red hair has been curled and piled neatly atop my head with some loose strands to frame my face. From what I got a look of my makeup, it was black and smoky, bringing more emphasis to my bright green eyes. It's the most I've been dressed up, and it feels so awkward. Unfortunately, it's necessary for this type of event. As I'm looking out in the crowd, things quiet down suddenly, as I see Nathaniel's mother Daciana come up onto the stage and is handed a microphone. She speaks out to the crowd then, her bright voice echoing across the room, amplified. "I would like to welcome everyone here from the Red Moon, Crystal Moon, and Twilight Moon packs to the annual mating ball. We are happy to have you all here in the hopes of you finding your true mates, and we wish you all the best tonight. Firstly, we will be starting with some entertainment before we get to any mate pairings. She will be performing a few times over the evening tonight, and some of you may already know her from her performances at our local hangout, Iron Wolf. Please welcome Ivy from the Red Moon Pack." There's a good amount of applause and hollering that ensues after she introduces me, and then it's my cue. Time to kill it. Nathaniel's POV. My mind races and my jaw drops when I see Ivy emerge on stage. I didn't see her after we had separated to get ready for tonight, but am I ever glad I didn't see her before now? I mean, she's beautiful the way she is, but done up like this, she's exquisite. The gown hugs her frame perfectly, with her fiery hair alight from the stage lights, making Kiba growl in enjoyment in my head. "Mate looks delicious," I hear Kiba say, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. "She looks so good," I hear someone say beside me, and I turn to see Kane and Genevieve, both looking at Ivy and smiling. Genevieve is in a long blue sequined gown, and Kane is in an all-black tux ensemble quite like my own. Genevieve then turns her attention to me. "Nice to see you, Alpha," she says as she does a short bow of respect. "Likewise, how have you both been?" I ask, and they look between themselves, and I see Kane nods briefly at Genevieve, and then speaks. "To be honest, it's been a little rough since you left, Alpha. Cole wasn't much a fan of Ivy coming here early with you, as you know, so he took it out on some of the other pack members verbally over the past week. But other than that, it was just what our normal is." I frown slightly. "I'm hoping to change your circumstances when I become king. The first hope, you know, that I say quietly, and they both nod. "It would be greatly appreciated, Alpha, especially for Ivy." I expected there to be some backlash from me taking Ivy and not giving Cole much of a choice about it, but honestly, as much as I wanted to annoy him, I didn't want it to be at the expense of others. "I'll have to investigate Red Moon a little more when I've got the time. get the pack history, and try to understand why this immature alpha thinks he can run a pack this way. I spot Cole not too far from where we are, watching Ivy like a hawk. Who does this guy think he is? My attention is pulled back to Ivy on stage as she introduces herself, and the band starts up for the first song. Ivy's POV. I finish the last bit of the second song and bow as I hear applause from all those watching. The first part of my performance is over now, and I can take a break while they do some of the mating pairings and traditions. Some people have already sensed or even found their mates already once they arrived, and as I descend into the crowd, I see multiple couples of wolves affectionate together having conversations with other couples or singles still in the room. Light music begins to play in the background. I'm happy for a lot of them. I see a few faces I know from Red Moon with their new mates from some other pack here, and I can't help but feel a pang of hurt and worry, thinking that I may never find my mate because of these tortuous cuffs. I rub the cuffs on my wrists, feeling myself start to panic, and quickly head upstairs and out to one of the exterior balconies for some air. As I step out, I inhale deeply, feeling my nerves start to settle with the chilled air and night sky. "You okay?" I hear a familiar voice and turn around to face Tobias. I half smile and nod. "Yes, better now. I just needed some air." "Alpha would like to see you. Can I tell him to come out?" he asks, and I nod. "Of course. I'm good." I promise. He flashes me a smile and turns on his heels and walks to the door, opens it, and Nathaniel walks past him and towards me. Tobias stands guard at the door, his back towards Nathaniel and I to give us privacy. I turn my attention to Nathaniel, and all I can think is, wow. Will this man ever stop being this strikingly handsome? All black tux ensemble, with his hair styled back and out of his face, blue eyes swirling with specks of gold. I can only imagine that may be his wolf peeking through. "Hey there," he says as he stops a few steps away from me. "Hey back," I say, and he chuckles, running his hand through his hair. He looks somewhat nervous, but I think it looks good on him. He seems more boyish than Alpha right now. I wanted to say, "You look absolutely stunning." I nod and try not to blush, but it's almost impossible. "Thank you, you look pretty good yourself, all done up in a tux," I tease, and he steps closer. "I do clean up good for this kind of stuff, don't I?" He laughs. "You always look good no matter what." "I wanted to ask you something. Feel free to say no if you don't want to. I won't be offended." I look at him, feeling anticipation building for what he's about to ask. Negative thoughts immediately rush through my mind. Is he going to tell us to leave? Is he going to say that he doesn't want to be around me anymore? I'm brought out of my worry when all that comes out of his mouth is, "Would you dance with me, out here on the balcony?" My heart skips a beat, and I smile. "I would love to, Alpha." The smile that comes across his face makes me chuckle slightly as he steps closer, taking my right hand and pulling me closer to him. He places his right hand on my left hip, more towards my exposed back, and grasps my right hand lightly with his left hand. There's a bit of a height difference between us, but I fit ever so perfectly in his arms as he pulls me into him completely, and I rest my left hand lightly on his shoulder. I also rest my head on his chest, and then he starts to lead us in a dance. We move effortlessly, dancing together to the soft music coming from inside. I'm hyper-aware of him and our closeness, feeling nervous, but as if he senses my discomfort, Nathaniel begins to trace small circles on my hip on my exposed skin, calming me down. "I'd never hurt you," he states plainly, and I lift my head to look at him. "I know." We continue to dance in silence, enjoying each other's company under the stars, until Tobias clears his throat, and we stop and back away from each other, immediately missing him being close to me. I think Ivy has to do the rest of her set now before the final announcements are made. "Right," Nate says as he turns to face me again. "Thank you for the dance, Ivy." "Thank you, Alpha." "See you after my last song?" I ask, and he nods. I step close and push up on my tiptoes to kiss him on the cheek, but I also whisper in his ear, "Please pay attention to the last song. It's for you." I turn then, walking past Nate and Tobias towards the door, and glance back to see Nate's surprised face. I chuckle and head back inside. Nathaniel's POV. I stand on the balcony, completely blindsided. Mate chose a song for us. We need to listen, Kiba happily says in my head. I hear Tobias chuckle and I look at him as we walk back inside. Ivy's already back up on stage and I anxiously wait for the current song to end. When it does moments later, I look at catch Ivy's gaze as she goes into her final song, and she smiles at me before going into it. I watch her the entire time, enamored with how she perfectly executes each note, and finally after a few minutes, she's singing the final lines of the song, and my heart is racing 1,000,000 miles a minute. The love for danger is rushing through my veins. Offer me your world, your thirst for immortality. We are animals. My God. You really think she doesn't feel a bond with you, Tobias says as he stands next to me. I chuckle awkwardly, my emotions running high from hearing her sing that song, clearly understanding what she meant with it. She has feeling for us, human. Mate feels for us. Kiba's voice rings in my head. I continue my conversation with Tobias. She's never said anything about it, but her actions seems like she does, doesn't it? He nods. Maybe she does feel something for you through a bond, but she can't recognize it as one. Those cuffs could be the culprit for that, though. You could be very right with that. I look up to see Ivy go backstage, and I quickly follow behind as I see my mother replace her to make final announcements before the real party starts. I glance around backstage as I see Ivy walk in front of me, and not seeing anyone, I quickly approach her. She turns and gasps as I pull her into me, my hands running down her soft, exposed back in her gown. She looks up at me and I lower my face to hers, our lips meeting for the first time since our limo kiss. She melts into me as I bring one hand up to cup behind her neck, holding her in place as we devour each other. We break away from each other, breathing heavily, and she says exactly what I'm thinking. What the hell have we gotten ourselves into? I don't know, but I don't want it to end. Do you? I ask, and she shakes her head. No, I don't. She goes and sits on the couch nearby and grabs her bottle of water from the side table as I sit down beside her. She opens the bottle and the scent I catch has me hitting the bottle from her hands. She gasps and looks at me, seeing my hands sizzle where some of the water has touched me. I growl lowly, scanning the room with Kiba partially in control. When I don't catch the scent or sound of anyone nearby, I relax slightly, but stay on alert. What does she says in disbelief as she grabs a cloth from the table and wipes my hand. What was that? For I place my other hand over hers. Someone put Wolfsbane in your water. Someone tried to poison you.
Wolfsbane, Tobias asks quietly, and Nathaniel nods. Tobias, Kane and Genevieve have now joined Nathaniel and I back in his wing in the main living area. Nathaniel is pacing back and forth in the open space between the couch and wall-mounted TV. Evie is sitting beside me on the couch and Kane and Tobias are opposite of us on the other couch. Nathaniel had mind-linked Tobias and asked him to grab Kane and Evie to let them know too. The anxiousness and concern filling the room is maddening, but soon the silence is broken.
You know it's completely possible that a certain someone did this, Kane states plainly, and I sigh. You think Cole did it, I say, and Kane nods briefly before going into his reasoning. Ivy, he's been going after you for years. You coming here away from his abuse and mistreatment? I wouldn't put it past him to make this kind of move as punishment. There's no way to prove it. There are at least 150 wolves here from 3 different packs, Evie says, and I sigh again, feeling defeated. The perfect cover, Nathaniel states, and we all turn to look at him as he stops pacing. Think about it. There are so many wolves, scents, and the whole distraction of wolves finding their mates and doing their mare mating pairs, no one would really pay much attention to someone going backstage. He pauses. But Genevieve is right. There's no way to prove it right now.
So, what should I do? I've known for years that Cole has had it in for me, and honestly it doesn't surprise me that this has happened and could be him. But you all know the moment I go back to Red Moon, it's going to just continue as usual.
You're not going back. Not yet, at least, Kane says, and I look at him, confused. The mating ball retreat, Evie says quietly, and my eyes widen, and I turn to Nathaniel, draping my arm over the back of the couch, pulling myself up slightly. I thought it was cancelled indefinitely. Nathaniel raises his gaze to me and shakes his head. We're still holding it this year. Since you're not mated, you can go, Tobias says, and I whip my head back to face him. I've already been away from the pack for over a week. You guys really think Cole is going to have that? Away for longer? I question, desperation creeping up in my voice. When no one answers me, I sigh loudly and stand up, my gown moving with me and sliding off the couch to the floor. Look, I appreciate all that you have done, Every single one of you, but I can't keep living in a pretend fairy tale land and not realize or recognize the reality of what I'm going back home to. You should have the ability to make decisions for yourself. Cole is not your keeper, Evie says, and I shake my head. You know, I understand that. But after years of pushing and fighting, I don't have much left in me to keep going. I'm embarrassed to even say it, here in front of my two closest friends and the Alpha King and his beta, but I cannot keep this up. My resolve is gone. I feel tears pricking my eyes and I shut them to try and keep them at bay, but I feel myself failing, and with a long exhale, I walk away to my room, closing the door behind me. The tears start to fall as soon as the door clicks shut, and I let them, small sobs racking my body as I try to not cry loudly since the others are still close by. I know I need to keep pushing. I know. It's just the hardest thing I've had to do, and I'm doing it alone. Sellas was always part of my strength and confidence, helping me push past the boundaries I had set for myself, making me the best version of myself. Without her, I'm lost, and everything is just taking too much of a toll. I can smile and just fake some type of happiness, but I know I can't live like that long term. I miss you, Sales, I say out loud, hoping that deep down she can still hear me after all these years.
There's a quiet knock at my door, and I turn, wiping my tears away with my fingers before turning the knob on the door and opening the door a little bit. I see Nathaniel's large frame and I look up, his blue eyes showcasing his worry.
Are you okay? He asks, his deep husky voice filled with concern. I nod, not speaking, but he steps inside, closing the door behind him. Once it's closed, he steps close to me, cupping my face with his hands, and then pulls me into him, wrapping his strong arms around me and squeezing lightly. He's warm and comforting, and I feel myself calming down, the tears slowing and eventually stopping after a few short minutes. I shouldn't be relying on you like this, Alpha, I say quietly as he holds me, and I hear a small grunt of disapproval come from him, rumbling in his chest slightly. You can rely on me all you need and want to, Ivy. No questions asked. More silence passes as he continues to hold me, his pacing heartbeat beating rhythmically like a drum in my ear pressed to his chest. You should go to the retreat. I think it would be good for you, Nathaniel says as he adjusts our stance, pulling my chin up gently to look me in the eyes. I know I probably look like a tear-stained mess and my makeup is probably smeared to all hell, but I keep his gaze, internally contemplating if I want to risk it. I've heard it's just full of drama, I state, still looking at him, and he chuckles lightly. It can be, but it's also a good way to blow off some steam. Have you ever gone? I ask, and he nods. Only as supervision, never as an attendee. Why? You haven't found your mate yet, I question, and he shrugs. Honestly, I don't have a specific answer for that, but it just never appealed to me to attend before. I still don't know, I trail off, but Nate grasps my hand, tugging me ever so gently towards the door. Simon, you can talk to Tobias about it. He's gone multiple years. Are you good? He asks, and I nod. As we head over to the door, I can't help but ask, really? He's gone multiple times. Nate nods as he chuckles again before opening the door, and we walk out together back into the living area to where Tobias, Kane, and Evie are sitting and talking. They stop chatting and turn to us as they see us emerge from my room, and I can't help but blush since there is no way I can hide that there's something going on between Nate and I anymore from the three of them, although I'm sure Tobias already knew. The smile I get from Evie makes me feel warm inside as Nate and I sit down, joining them. Ivy is torn on attending the retreat, Nate says after a short moment of silence, and looks over at Tobias, who clears his throat and looks at me. Honestly, Ivy, it's one of those things that turns out entirely how you make it to be. Some have gone to cause drama, some go to have fun with no strings attached, and some go just to get away from the fact that they haven't found their mate yet. You should go, Kane says, turning to face me. You've gone through enough. Screw Cole. Live your life. Okay, I'll go, I say before turning my head to face Nate, poking a finger on his chest. But only if you do. I need someone I know there. I see Nate smirk as he outstretches his hands and rolls his neck. I guess it's settled then. We're going. Time to pack. I look at him puzzled. Pack? You mean now? He nods as he gets up from beside me on the couch. Everyone who is attending is leaving tonight by town car to the airport. Oh crap. I'll have to get my stuff together, then I say, standing. I go to head back to my room, but Evie stops me as everyone else disperses. You sure you're okay? She asks, and I nod. I'll manage. I always have. Just some days are harder than others. I know. Nate seems to be helping you quite a bit and I blush. I can't deny that, but I feel like I'm using him. Evie shakes her head. Don't think like that. It's good you have a sounding board and another person in your corner. I guess. I hope you have a wonderful time at the retreat. Kane and I will see you when you get back. I smile and hug her, and she whispers into my ear, if you don't jump that alpha king of ours, I swear I'll hurt you. I back away from her, my mouth wide open in shock, and she winks before walking away. That bitch. I roll my eyes and head back into my room after saying goodbye to Kane and Tobias as well, and pack all my belongings into my suitcase once again, noticing how everything has already been neatly washed and folded already. I guess someone did laundry while I was here. I pull out some comfortable clothes, some black leggings and a purple t-shirt, and my white pullover hoodie and place them onto the bed when I hear a slight creak of my door. I stand completely still as I know it must be Nate since everyone else had left us for the evening. My guess is confirmed when I feel him come up behind me, wrapping his arms around my tiny frame and pulling me back into him. His damp hair tickles my neck as he trails kisses from my neck to my shoulder, clearly having just freshly showered. I shiver as he whispers into my ear, "Need help getting that dress off?" I nod, not saying a word, and bite my lip as his hands trails down my exposed back to where the clasp and zipper sit at my lower back. I feel the change in pressure as he undoes the clasp and zipper, and he turns me to face him.
I can't hide the redness in my face as he stares at me so intensely.
Lift your arms up in front of you, he says lowly, his husky tone making me shiver. He's commanding me. I do as he asks, and he tugs lightly on the sleeves of my dress, slowly inching each of them off my arms, letting them hang loosely. He then reaches up behind my neck where the last clasp is, and once it's undone, the top of my dress falls, exposing the black lace bra I'm wearing, and I hear a low growl come from him as his hands go lower, pulling my skirt off my legs, leaving me in just my stockings, underwear, and bra. He leans his forehead into mine, closing his eyes. You're going to be the death of me. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I say softly, and he smiles. Good thing. You keep me on my toes. Should I also mention that you're going to be the death of me? I say, and he raises his head to look at me directly. Why do you say that? Have you seen yourself? I say, bewildered, and he laughs out loud. I guess we're going to be the death of each other. Then he leans down and kisses me softly, and I wrap my arms around his neck as he lifts me up, wrapping my legs around his waist. He sits me down on the edge of the bed and grabs my shirt and pulls it over my head, same with my sweater. He then grabs my leggings and gets them over my feet, pulling them up as far as he can while I'm sitting, my face bright red with how close he is to me. It's been ages since anyone has touched me and he's driving me insane. This is so embarrassing. I stand and pull my leggings up the rest of the way, and he places my hand in his and leads me back out of the room, carrying my bag. We're taking my private jet to the island for the retreat. Excuse me, did you say your jet? I say in astonishment, and he nods. I don't get to use it often, so I figured we could tonight. Sound okay? I nod and smile. Yeah, of course it does. We continue to walk out, and I can't help but let the giddy feeling wash over me completely.